Ever wondered how to prepare a lobster for a home dinner? The first step is choosing the right lobster. This process is crucial because a fresh, active lobster guarantees a delightful meal. So how do you pick one? Look for a lobster that's lively and moves around. It should feel heavy for its size, indicating it's packed with delicious meat. A hefty lobster isn't just a good workout for your arms, but a promise of a satisfying meal. Remember, a lively, heavy lobster means a delicious dinner is in store. Now that you've got the perfect lobster, it's time to prepare your cooking environment. First things first, grab a large pot. You need one big enough to fully submerge the lobster. Once you have that, fill it with water. Don't be shy with the water. The lobster needs plenty of space to cook evenly. Next, we're going to season the water with salt. Many top chefs swear by adding about 2 tablespoons of salt per quart of water. This not only seasons the lobster but also helps to preserve its tender texture while it cooks. Once your pot is filled and seasoned, it's time to crank up the heat. Bring the water to a rolling boil. This means you want the water to be bubbling vigorously. This high heat is essential for properly cooking the lobster. With the pot ready and the water boiling, you're all set for the next step. Now comes the most exciting part, handling and cooking the lobster. The first rule of thumb is to handle the lobster with care. Be firm but gentle, and always keep your fingers away from the claws. You'll want to hold the lobster by its body, and when you're ready, place it head first into the boiling water. Some chefs suggest stunning the lobster first, which involves inserting a knife into the head. This step is optional, but it may make the process feel more humane. Now, let's talk cooking times. The general rule is to boil the lobster for 8 to 10 minutes for the first pound. For each additional pound, you'll want to add an extra 3 minutes of cooking time. It's important to keep an eye on the clock because overcooking can make the meat tough and rubbery. While the lobster is boiling, you'll start to notice a few changes. The shell will turn a bright, vibrant red, and the meat will transition from translucent to a white, opaque color. These are your visual cues that the lobster is cooked just right. Remember, cooking is an art, not a science. Your intuition is your best tool. So, trust your senses. The sight of the red shell, the smell of the sea, the feel of the heat from the boiling water. Once the lobster shell turns bright red and the meat is white and opaque, it's time to move on to the final steps. Having cooked your lobster to perfection, it's time to cool, crack, and serve. Now, the first thing we want to do after the lobster is done cooking is to remove it from the pot using tongs. Be careful, it's hot. Let the lobster cool down for a few minutes before handling. This makes it safer to handle and also helps the meat to set, making it easier to remove later. Once the lobster is cool enough to handle, it's time to crack it open and extract all that delicious meat. Start by twisting off the lobster claws. You can crack them open using a lobster cracker or the back of a heavy knife. Be careful not to crush the meat inside. Next, twist off the lobster tail. To extract the tail meat, split the tail down the middle using kitchen shears or a sharp knife. Be careful to remove any sharp shell fragments that may have broken off. You can also extract meat from the legs and the body of the lobster. Some people consider this the sweetest and most flavorful part of the lobster, so don't skip it. Once all the meat is extracted, serve it with melted butter and lemon wedges. You can also add your choice of sides. Some popular options include steamed vegetables, rice, or a fresh salad. Voila! There you have it, a perfectly prepared lobster ready for a home dinner. Enjoy your meal. Before we wrap up, here are some additional tips for your lobster cooking adventure. Remember to handle the lobster carefully to avoid getting pinched by its claws. If you're keen on exploring, grilling or broiling lobsters can offer a different flavor profile. As for the perfect sides, lobster pairs well with steamed vegetables, rice, or a fresh salad. The combinations are truly endless, so don't be afraid to get creative. With these tips in mind, you're ready to impress your family and friends with a delicious lobster dinner. Happy cooking!